Okay, so tonight is December 10th, 2020. It's about 7:06. We're going to call the meeting of the Simsbury WPCA, the Water Pollution Control Authority, to order. Tonight with us are the commissioners Michael Park, Jacques Brignock, Lucian Dragowski, and Tom Hickey. And Paul Gilmore will likely be joining us. He's having technical difficulties. So I'm Jay Sheehan. I'm the vice chair, and I'll run the meeting tonight. We also have Tom Roy from the town, Tony Piazza, and Allison as well, Allison Sturgeon. So welcome all. The first item on the agenda is a safety brief, and I think it's pretty obvious that we're still in a pandemic. So we're meeting very safely. We're meeting online. We're doing this via broadcast. We're broadcasting this on Simsbury Public Television. So that's good news. We're not through the woods yet. Vaccines are being discussed, but they're not necessarily being pushed out. So we still have a little time. Let's be safe. Let's be smart and keep everyone healthy. And we're very fortunate that I believe at the Simsbury WPCF, we haven't had any cases of COVID yet. Tony?
That is correct.
How you been doing, Tom, with Public Works?
We've been very fortunate. It's been near us, but nobody within the facility has been sick, and we're just trying to stay vigilant.
It's amazing. It's congratulations to you both and to the town, because it's been pretty pervasive. Every day, someone from my company or one of our clients at Public Works are coming down with it and dealing with it. So great job. So the next agenda item is the sewer use fee waiver request for 16 Seminary Road. Who wants to discuss that tonight?
Oh, okay. Before I get into it, this guy, the gentleman, Mr. Mock, actually referred all correspondence to his attorney at Updike, Kelly, and Spalacy, which is Paul's firm. So
we'll see how that goes. We did get a letter, right? So everyone's seen the letter. Do we want to read the letter into record? Does that make sense, Allison?
Yeah, we can do that. It's even though it's available. It's from Mr. Thomas Mock to the Water Pollution Control Authority on July 7th, 2019. My home located at 16 Seminary Road, Simsbury, sustained catastrophic damage due to a plumbing issue. I was forced to move out of my home and have been unable to live there for more than 15 months. On June 30th, 2020, I spoke and emailed with Anthony Piazza, Superintendent, WPCA, regarding the issue and my request to have the sewer bill waived as the house was uninhabitable. I was advised by Mr. Piazza to provide documentation from the water company that all the water had been shut off from the street. Documentation was provided. I heard nothing after that telephone conversation and subsequent email exchange until I recently received a delinquency notice on October 25th, 2020. I continue to receive delinquency statements from the water pollution control account, and as well as late fees and penalties. I am once again asking the WPCA to waive the sewer use fee for 2019, as my home was uninhabitable and there was no water flowing to the house for more than 1 year. As a small business owner in Simsbury and longtime resident of this town, waiving this bill due to non-use seems reasonable. And as I am involved in pending litigation regarding losses I incurred, any additional information you may require should be directed to my attorney, Adam Marks, at Updike, Kelly, Spalacy, law firm, 100 Pearl Street. Thank you for your understanding and immediate attention. Kindly, Thomas Mock.
Thank you for doing that. So the situation's pretty clear. He's saying he has an uninhabitable house. He's given you documentation, Tony, that the Aquarian had shut off his water. Is that right?
It doesn't say it's shut off. It just says there's zero use.
Zero use of water. So with zero use of water comes likely zero use of wastewater.
Correct.
So at this point,
so if I can interrupt for just a second, can everyone hear me?
Yes, you sound loud and clear.
Okay. All right.
And
so Adam
this
Marks,
is who? Because we can't see you.
Paul Gilmore for the record. Yeah, I'm sorry. So Adam Marks is a member of my firm, and so I think I'm going to abstain from participating in this deliberation and any decision. made with respect to it.
Thank you for articulating that, Paul. We appreciate your ethics on this issue. So to the authority, we have an option here to agree to waive this, not waive this, or table the discussion. So does anyone have any thoughts of how they want to handle this particular issue?
Or any precedent for anything like this?
Yeah, in my time, we've had this problem come up once or twice before. It was actually back under our previous chairman, where again, there have been houses that have been unoccupied for a various number of reasons. And in the past, I do remember under Phil's leadership, the decision was to not waive the fee because there was a concern of opening the door for how many situations this could be. We have often unoccupied homes in town that are awaiting resale. They can sometimes be unoccupied for a year or longer. There is often reconstructions, and in a few cases similar to this one, there have been homes that have been damaged for one reason or another. But again, the only case that I can remember from this was in the neighborhood of 8 or 9 years ago, and the decision was made not to waive the fee.
One that's more recent than that is actually the Ethel Walker School, where with their new dormitory that they put in, and they requested to not be billed for the old dormitory, which they never tore down, and they were mothballing it.
And did we approve a waiver or not approve?
No, we did not. We did not.
Great question. Any other thoughts, questions, comments, concerns?
Is this any different because has their water actually been turned off?
The one bill that was sent to us was from December of 2019.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, based on the documents they sent us, it looks like their water usage is zero, right?
Correct. For the last, from basically, it looks like from June or July of last year until December. Correct.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if that changes anything because, like, in the cases that Tom brought up as hypotheticals, you know, if someone is like selling their house or whatever, like, that's not our fault that they can't sell their house. But, you know, in this case, if the water is literally shut off to the house, I don't know if that changes anything.
And just for information purposes, if you guys don't know, this year's water bill pays for, or this year's sewer bill pays for next year's service. So they're paying ahead for service.
Just I think a further point that I think the water use is one portion. I think the other thing would be if they'd actually lost their certificate of occupancy so that it was deemed uninhabitable, it would be a different threshold, I think.
They did not, Tom. You're saying they did not lose their certificate of occupancy?
To the best of my knowledge, they did not know.
Okay.
But just trying to help you in determining if there's some appropriate triggers that can be used to then differentiate between somebody who was summering in Florida for 3 months or wintering in Florida for 3 months. Because again, that's always been the concern, is we want to make sure that we don't open the floodgates on this. Not that we don't want to be compassionate to our residents, but.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess I would ask then what could they have done differently, if anything, to avoid having to pay this?
That's a good question.
I think, like Tom said, if they lost their CO, that would be one thing, because then they'd have to reapply for the CO for everything to start triggering again.
And I think, again, it's a difficult balance, especially in the holiday season. Is, you know, similarly, there's not going to be, from the other end of this, the tax department's not going to give them a change in their taxes for the year. And I don't know, but, you know, it did mention that it's under litigation. I don't know if this is something that would be covered as part of the insurance loss or however that's going. It just, again, gets into the threshold for this, the sewer use fee for a residential home is not insurmountable. But I think, again, it's how do we set a reasonable threshold so that we can be accommodating where it's appropriate?
One thing that struck me was that if they still own the house, they owe taxes on it. But we're not charging them for owning the house. We're charging them for the water use, which, as he said, was zero.
We're actually charging them for the right to use the sewers for residential property.
Okay.
I mean, it's a balance, right? It's
Yeah,
it's
okay.
availability of sewer there's a value there, and then there's also usage. So it's kind of a little bit of both potentially.
Right, because they wouldn't have been paying a water bill if they weren't using anything. So that.
But there
They
could
usually-
very well there's usually fixed items, fixed fees within a water bill. So to have a meter, there's a meter charge. To
Right.
have, there's elements. We don't have any fixed fees. We're just one charge.
Right.
And I think the decision years ago has always been that with residential, we're not charged. I hear some
Mine.
agreement in the background there.
I didn't hear everything you just said, Tom. Sorry.
Yeah, why don't you repeat that, Tom?
I don't think that's Allison's dog. Well, I was saying, for residential homes, we've made a decision to have a flat fee. We don't charge a different rate for a 5-bedroom home or a 2-bedroom home. And unlike commercial, we do not charge based on water use. I understand the correlation with water use, but we've made a simplification.
Mm-hmm.
It's a round number, and again, I think it's a pretty reasonable fee compared to some of even our neighboring communities, and it's been done as a simplification. So now, if we start parsing it out to use, is that opening us up to closer evaluation of all of our fees? Again, if you own a large 5-bedroom house, you're the only one living there. Are you paying fairly?
And to that point, so what we're seeing is, with COVID, utilities even delinquencies aren't really affecting the utilities right now. And it's because most have moved, particularly water utilities, have moved to fixed fees. So a larger portion of their bills are fixed fees. And they're doing that because consumption may be going down, but you still have to pay for the utility. It doesn't matter how much you reduce consumption. There's still a basic cost to run the utility. So the water utilities are particularly moving towards fixed fees. My guess is we will someday, but we haven't had to go there yet. So that kind of furthers Tom's point.
I think there's a couple of options. One would be, I think we could do some level of looking back to see if we can find when this was discussed in the past. If this is not something you're looking to decide on tonight,
It's a thought.
at the same time, again, certain value in staff time in doing that.
And we could also investigate, like we said, is to see if they did lose their CO.
Right. Double check that. So does anyone want to make a motion of some kind?
Well, could we move that we table this pending further investigation?
Sounds
Something like that.
Sounds like a good motion.
Okay, I'm so moved.
Okay, second. Anyone?
Second.
Second by Lucian. Any discussion, further discussion?
Is there anything else that you'd like us to find besides the CO and any in the past? What discussions we've had in the past regarding this?
So precedent, and if they had any certificate of occupancy loss or any kind of legal version of non-occupancy, I guess.
Or anything pertaining specifically to water being turned off too, I guess.
Correct. Right. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? So the motion will unanimously be approved, and we'll re-invite Paul to the meeting and to take item number 4, bond escrow release request.
Michael Mansour, who's the developer for Hendricks Lane, which is the development off Climax Road, is asking for release of the construction bond and the release of the maintenance bond. I am in agreement for release of the construction bond, but the maintenance bond period is only started in April of this year. So he's got another 5 months for the release of the maintenance bond, which the maintenance period is a year for the sewers.
Paul, do you want to jump back in, or do you want me to continue? You may be on mute.
I think we lost Paul.
Okay, so I'll continue.
Oh, I got you.
okay.
I was on mute. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I did that. All right. So yeah, I don't see really a reason to depart from our policy. Has the property owner articulated any basis as to why we should waive the balance of the maintenance period?
No, he has not.
All right. So, I mean, my thoughts would be if what you're representing to me is that it's appropriate to release the bond that is not the maintenance bond, and to retain the maintenance bond. I think that's what we should do, because that's our standard protocol, and there's no rationale even put forth to depart from our rules and procedures.
Sounds very reasonable to
Anyone
me.
want to discuss? Anyone want to discuss that?
I'd make a motion to approve the construction bond release and deny the maintenance bond release.
Anyone want to second that? Discussion? Seeing no one wanting to discuss the matter, let's put it to a vote. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Any opposed? All right, so that's 3 ayes. Let me ask
4 ayes.
who is here?
Ayes.
Four ayes. Okay, guys, I don't think we need
5
four.
ayes. We had all 5. We had all 5 ayes.
We have 5. Okay, I can't see raised hands or anything.
Okay.
All right, so 5 ayes. The motion carries unanimously. So the next item on the agenda would be treatment facility report. Tony?
Actually,
No,
sewer
I'm sorry.
extension.
Status report on sewer extension projects, number 4. Tony?
We're still going pretty well with everything. We should be having a meeting coming up with our design engineer for Woodland Street, coming up hopefully within the next week or so for an update on that. The next project that's going to be coming in, that's not on this list. We just got the developer's agreement today, which I forwarded off to the town attorney, is for phase 5 or so for Carson's Way, which is Griswold Street, which is the last section of that, which is another 18 homes. So hopefully for the next meeting, we'll approve that sewer extension for the next portion of that. And everything else, we're looking at Highcroft. and the ridge we're basically just waiting for final paving to accept those sewers fully with the inspections, and everything else is good.
All right. Sounds good. Does anyone have any questions or concerns about Tony's report that you'd like to see him speak to further? Okay, hearing no articulation of a question or concern, thank you for that report, Tony. Let's move on to item number 5 on the agenda, which is the treatment facility report. Tony?
Okay. For the programmable logic controller replacement in the plant, we had an issue with Graybar supplying us with one of our specialty cables. They sent us the wrong one. Of course, it's a 4 to 6 week delivery on those cables, so we're about 2 weeks into getting the replacement for that. So we'll have that last PLC replaced probably sometime in January. Everything else has been working well. The guys like the way the new system is set up. We submitted the BRIC grant application with TPC Engineering on November 30th. So the state has that. If they have any questions, they'll come back to us, and TPC will continue to work with them. And AECOM still continues on working on the water pollution control plan and the facilities plan. And they've got minimal updates with that. They're in and out of their office all the time, so they're emailing me once in a while and getting more information for that. We met with Ty and Bond last week to go over the initial design concept for the covers for the secondary clarifiers to prevent the algae growth. This plan is still to have those go out to bid sometime in the spring for installation in the summer. The one fun thing that we had James Silva Engineering do an engineering inspection of the primary clarifiers. I initially noticed just a lot of spalling on the concrete, so I was concerned before we spent the money on upgrading all the mechanical portions of it to see if there's anything we can do to keep the concrete in place. He actually found some structural defects in the tank, basic on the east tank, or well, they call it the south tank, the one closer to the center of the plant. The wall is actually moved in a couple of spots on the upper portion by about an inch or so. So right now, since we haven't used the tanks in almost, I think, 11 years now, with the few options we're looking at, and there's a capital item that we're putting in the budget for 2 years from now to do a more in-depth study on it and potentially see if we can either, if we have to repair them, we have to repair them, or potentially just decommission the tanks outright. So for when you see the budget, you'll see a line item in there for just in case of $1 million to repair the primary clarifiers. That's 3 years out. So don't get afraid when you see that budget next month.
Okay.
The other item that we have is the miscellaneous industrial permit. We've been working on that, trying to get a list of all of the people that are required to register with us. Right now, we're basically breaking it down into sections. We're sending out a notice this week or next week to all the people that have permits already, saying, "Hey, just a reminder, you have to register with us by the end of July or end of January." Then we're gonna concentrate on ones we know that have to register with us, with like repair shops, automobile repair shops, swimming pools, things of that nature. So we're going to break it down into sections to make it more manageable for the whole program. Right now, I just got clarification, so we'll cut it in half probably. But Simsbury alone, if we didn't get clarification from the state, we were at 460 people that had to permit. I just got clarification from the state, so we can take about half of that off for just Simsbury alone. So Simsbury will have probably about 200 people that have to register with us for the industrial permit. And then we have to tackle Avon and Granby. Other than that, the process has been running well.
Hey, Tony, on the miscellaneous general permit, the industrial permit, We are trying to get, as an industry, we had a board meeting today with the Connecticut Pollution Abatement Association, and we're trying to get a schedule of fees that's recommended for the fees we should charge for inspection and permitting and everything else. So we'll have some benchmarks for other utilities. We don't have to use what they come up with, but we should have that in another month or two.
I did actually talk to the state regarding that.
They have a sample, yeah.
Yeah, the state basically was they required, if you registered, you were required to pay for the 5-year permit. So it was basically a 5-year registration.
Yeah.
If you didn't have to do any sampling or there was no inspections involved, it was $500. If there was inspections involved, it was $1,000. And if there was sampling required, it was $1,500. So not to, and you know, Tom and I were briefly talking whether it be and conveniently before we knew all these numbers, it was possibly a $50 a year fee, you know, so which conveniently runs out to where we want it.
Right.
So, but again, we'll have to figure that. That's something we'll come up with when we set our fees in April, May.
All right. Does anyone have any other questions or concerns or points they would like to discuss concerning the treatment facility report? All right. Seeing no one, or hearing rather, no one wanting to discuss that further. Thank you, Tony, for that cogent report. The next item on the agenda is correspondence. Other than the correspondence, the discussion and voting on which I did not participate in, I did not see that there was anything else in the packet. So is there other correspondence that has escaped my eye?
No, there is no other correspondence.
Okay. So then let's move to item number 7 on the agenda, which is November meeting minutes and possible approval. Has everyone had an opportunity prior to this meeting to review the minutes and evaluate whether or not you think they need any edits or amendments?
I saw nothing.
Okay. Does anyone want time here to a couple of moments to review the minutes? And if so, that's perfectly fine. Just let me know.
I am comfortable making a motion to approve the November minutes as they have been sent.
Second?
Okay. All right. So any discussion about the minutes? The motion is pending to approve the minutes as presented. Seeing no one wanting to discuss, let's put it to a vote. All in favor of approving the November 2020 regular meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. What you heard was unanimous, Paul.
Okay. I also say aye. Anyone? So no one is opposed. So great. The motion carries. The next item on the agenda, number 8, is the proposed meeting schedule for calendar year 2021 and the possible approval thereof.
I just looked just so you guys know that there's no, the only holiday that we have something that a meeting that falls on is Veterans Day. Everything else is not a holiday.
I see. Okay. So does anyone have an issue with conducting a meeting on Veterans Day?
I would recommend not conducting the meeting on Veterans Day.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a town holiday. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think it's town policy not to hold meetings on holidays.
Yep.
All right. So then is there a proposed date to which that should be moved?
We can move it to that Wednesday.
We could either do that, or do you want to move it back a week to the, well, rather to the week after Veterans Day? I don't know if people are more comfortable with a Thursday meeting versus a Wednesday meeting, or any particular druthers for anyone?
No,
So the following Thursday is usually a public safety meeting. Is that right, Tom? Are you participating in those?
Yes, I do. But those are bright and early in the morning.
Okay, 7 a.m. And then the night before would be a public building committee meeting, potentially. Those might be special meetings, though. Those may not be routine.
All right. So, I mean, my preference would be to keep it on a Thursday, but it's not a strong preference.
That works.
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't we move the Veterans Day meeting to 7 p.m. for the Thursday following Veterans Day. So while we're at the point of setting a schedule, is everyone still comfortable with and like having our meeting starting at 7 p.m.?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So that's working for everyone. Great. All right. So do I hear any motion to approve the meeting schedule for 2021 as amended to move the Veterans Day meeting to the Thursday following Veterans Day at the same time?
I would like to make that motion. This is Jay.
Okay. Thank you, Jay. Do I hear a second?
Second, Tom.
Okay. Anyone want to discuss further?
Just for clarification, that would be the 18th.
18th.
Correct. Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Sounds unanimous. Any opposed? It sounded unanimous. All right.
It
No
was.
opposition. The motion carries unanimously. Great. Okay. So we're now to number 9, the adjournment. Now, last month I did inquire about whether or not anyone wanted to remain afterwards, online and after we close out and to have a beverage. So why don't we first adjourn, and then we'll see if anyone wants to hang around and do that. So anyone have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.